The legend of Wyatt Earp, an American frontier icon. Like a stubborn tumbleweed rolling across the dusty plains of the American West, Wyatt Earp's legacy has endured through generations, gathering tales and myths along its journey through time. From the blood-soaked streets of Tombstone to the gold-rich valleys of Alaska, Earp's life embodied the raw spirit of a nation pushing westward, seeking fortune and justice in equal measure. His story, as vast as the territories he roamed, stands as a testament to an era when law and chaos danced an intricate waltz across the American frontier. Early life, seeds of justice in fertile soil. Born on March 19, 1848, in Monmouth, Illinois, Wyatt Berry Earp entered a world that was rapidly transforming. Like a young oak taking root in uncertain soil, his early years were marked by constant movement as his father, Nicholas Porter Earp, a wandering lawman and farmer, moved the family from one frontier settlement to another. The elder Earp, stern as prairie wind and equally relentless, instilled in young Wyatt a rigid sense of justice and self-discipline that would later define his career. The Earp household was a crucible of character formation, where the flames of Civil War America forged the raw metal of youth into tools of frontier justice. Wyatt's childhood was no gentle prairie spring, but rather a harsh season of learning. By age 13, he was already manning wagon trains, his young eye scanning horizons like a seasoned scout, his hands growing calloused with the weight of adult responsibilities. The family's nomadic existence, moving through Illinois, Iowa, and eventually to California, painted the canvas of young Wyatt's worldview with broad strokes of adaptability and resilience. Like the mighty rivers they crossed, his experiences carved deep channels in his character that would guide his future course. The making of a lawman, early career. As a young man, Earp wandered through the American West like a compass seeking true north, trying his hand at various professions. He was a teamster, buffalo hunter, and even briefly worked as a constable in Missouri. Each role added another layer to his understanding of frontier life, like rings in a tree trunk marking seasons of growth. His first taste of real law enforcement came in Wichita, Kansas, where he served as a deputy marshal in 1875. The bustling cattle town was like a powder keg waiting for a spark, filled with hard-drinking cowboys fresh off the trail and eager to spend their earnings. Here, Earp learned to handle men whose blood ran hot with whiskey and pride, developing the cool demeanor that would become his trademark. Dodge City, the anvil of experience. Dodge City, that wickedest little city in America, became Earp's next proving ground. Here, where the Santa Fe Railroad kissed the dust of cattle drives, Wyatt refined his approach to law enforcement. Like a skilled blacksmith, he learned to shape order from chaos, knowing when to strike hard and when to let the metal cool. His reputation grew not from the number of men he shot, but from those he didn't have to shoot, his very presence often enough to quiet a saloon full of rowdy cowboys. The Tombstone Saga, Thunder in the Desert. In 1879, Wyatt Earp rode into Tombstone, Arizona territory, like a storm cloud promising either rain or lightning. The silver-rich boom town, perched on the edge of lawlessness like a falcon's nest on a cliff face, would become the stage for his most famous acts. Here, the threads of destiny wove together a tapestry of conflict that would echo through American history. The OK Corral, 30 Seconds of Thunder. October 26, 1881, dawned like any other day in Tombstone, the morning sun casting long shadows across Allen Street. But by high noon, those shadows would be etched permanently into the mythology of the American West. The famous gunfight near the OK Corral, though it lasted only 30 seconds, erupted like a summer storm that had been building for months. The confrontation between the Earp brothers, Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan, Doc Holliday, and the Clanton-McLaury faction was more than a simple street fight. It was the culmination of political tensions, personal vendettas, and the eternal struggle between law and chaos that defined the frontier. Like two thunderheads colliding, the opposing forces met in an explosion of gunfire that left 3 men dead and several wounded. The facts of the gunfight have been debated like desert wind stirring dust, but what's certain is that in those brief moments, Wyatt Earp's legend was cemented in American consciousness. The aftermath brought not peace but a vengeful whirlwind, as the surviving cowboys sought revenge, killing Morgan Earp and maiming Virgil. The Vendetta Ride, Justice or Vengeance. Following the murder of his brother Morgan, Wyatt Earp embarked on what became known as the Vendetta Ride. Like a prairie fire consuming everything in its path, Earp and his supporters pursued those they believed responsible for the attacks on his family. This period marked a dramatic transformation in Earp's character, from upholder of the law to its vengeful shadow. Later years, gold rush and beyond. After leaving Arizona, Earp drifted like autumn leaves in the wind, touching down in various boom towns across the West. He followed the scent of opportunity to California, Alaska, and Nevada, trying his hand at everything from mining to gambling. These years revealed another side of the man, not just the stern-faced lawman, but an entrepreneur and adventurer. In the gold fields of Alaska, Earp operated saloons during the Nome Gold Rush, his previous reputation following him like a faithful shadow. The frozen north proved as lucrative as the desert southwest, though the dangers were different. Here, a man was more likely to die from cold than from a bullet. The California years. Sunset days. Earp's final years in California were spent like a river reaching the sea, still moving, but with gathering peace. He worked as a consultant for early Western films, his first-hand knowledge of the frontier era becoming increasingly valuable as that time slipped further into history. Like an old cowboy sharing tales around a campfire, he helped shape how future generations would remember the American West. His relationship with Josephine Marcus, whom he had met in Tombstone, continued until his death. Their partnership was as enduring as the desert rocks, weathering storms of controversy and the passage of time. Together, they lived in Los Angeles, where Earp watched the frontier he had known transform into something entirely new. Legacy, the echo of hoofbeats. Wyatt Earp died on January 13, 1929, but like a mountain peak visible from great distances, his influence on American culture has only grown with time. His story has been told and retold through books, movies, and television shows, each version adding new layers to the legend, like sediment building up on a riverbed. In popular culture, the image of Wyatt Earp has become as much a symbol as a historical figure, representing justice in a lawless land, unwavering courage in the face of danger, and the complex morality of frontier life. Like a constellation guiding travelers, his story has become a reference point for American values of justice, perseverance, and rugged individualism. Hollywood has particularly embraced Earp's story, with countless portrayals ranging from Hugh O'Brien's straight-arrow lawman in the 1950s television series to Kurt Russell's more complex character in Tombstone. Each interpretation is like a different facet of a rough diamond, revealing new aspects of the man and his times. Historical impact. Beyond the mythology, Earp's actual contributions to law enforcement and frontier justice were significant. His methods of maintaining order without always resorting to violence influenced later generations of peace officers. Like a well-worn trail, his approach to law enforcement, firm but measured, marked a path that others would follow. The man behind the badge. The true Wyatt Earp was neither the flawless hero of early television nor the vengeful vigilante of some modern interpretations. Like the landscape he inhabited, he was shaped by harsh realities and difficult choices. His story teaches us that justice and morality on the frontier were rarely as clear as the Arizona sky. Conclusion: dust and memory. As we look back across the plains of time to the frontier era, Wyatt Earp stands like a solitary messer against the horizon of history. His life spanned one of the most transformative periods in American history, from the Civil War through the dawn of the 20th century. Like the frontier itself, he was complex and sometimes contradictory, a lawman who sometimes operated outside the law, a peace officer famous for a gunfight, a symbol of the Old West who lived well into the age of automobiles and motion pictures. The legend of Wyatt Earp continues to resonate because it speaks to something fundamental in the American character: the belief in justice, the willingness to stand against the odds, and the complex relationship between law and force in establishing civilization. Like the wind that still blows across the Arizona desert, his story shapes our understanding of the American West and its place in our national identity. In the end, perhaps Wyatt Earp's greatest legacy is not the gunfight at the OK Corral or his career as a lawman, but what his life represents: the story of America itself, with all its contradictions and complexities, its ideals and its realities, its violence and its justice. Like the frontier he helped to tame, Wyatt Earp remains a symbol of both the challenges and the possibilities that lie in the great American experiment. As modern visitors walk the streets of Tombstone or stand at his grave in Hills of Eternity Memorial Park in Colma, California, they're touching more than just history, they're connecting with a legend that, like the best stories of the American West, continues to teach us about justice, courage, and the price of progress in a wild land. The sun has long since set on the American frontier, but in the twilight of memory, Wyatt Earp still stands, straight-backed and steady, a guardian at the crossroads of myth and history, reminding us of who we were and, perhaps, who we still aspire to be. If you have enjoyed this bit of history, hit the subscribe button for future updates.